Okay, folks, good morning. It's kind of impromptu. Is it impromptu if I mention that I'm going to do it the day before? Planned for a very short time painting session. We're going to try to paint. Got up at 4 instead of 5. And should be able to paint close to an hour and a half. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. It's going to be probably my fastest hour and a half of all day long. So, and this is already not moistened. Great. All right, I will be right back. We're going to go water this pad and be right back in a jiff. Okay. Let's pick up where we left off from last night. Okay, the straps on these, the harnesses on the horse, I'm probably going to go with red as well, that same dark red. We're going to keep that constant through all of the figures. I'm pretty sure we're not going to do his pants in blue. Let's do the pants in the white color. We're going to go ahead and mix the pants with brown instead of black. You start mixing things with brown. You start mixing white with brown. You start realizing how much red there is in that brown. It really stands out. You don't notice it until you start doing that. The only way you can figure that out is just start experimenting. Don't put your colors on the figure right on the bottle. Tinker with them. I need to save this one for faces. I may need a new candidate though. Man, this chair's gotten really squeaky. I tried flipping it over upside down and tightening everything up a couple of months ago, and it helped a little while. help for a little bit. If this ends up being successful, and I mean the painting session this early, then we may have to switch to this for the next month or so. Might have to start painting before 5 a.m. to get something done. I really don't want to have to think about doing these guys after Historicon. Because I will guarantee that Mitch and I are going to be planning on doing something else. It's going to involve me painting another army. And I don't want to talk about that. Get excited about it. And realize I'm not going to be able to participate in that for another couple of months because I have to finish this damn army that I'm working on now. That's the only reason. It's not that, I'm not enjoying painting these guys or that they're turning out how I envision them. It's just that I want to be excited to work on something else that's new. But I wonder how many people do the little stunt that I like to do, which is called paint the entire thing that your army, you're most excited about painting in your army last. I wonder how many people actually do that. Paint the fun element, usually the general's element or something with a flag or something unique. You paint those guys last. I've done that in every instance except one. When I was painting my Armenians, I had trouble getting them up off the ground. And, I was drawing a blank. That was really the first army that I painted that was kind of just a bunch of drab peasants. And was having a lot of trouble trying to get them off the ground and get motivated to paint them. So I ended up painting the cataphracts first, the 2 stands of cataphracts that they have. And then after you get the 2 cataphracts done, you're like, well, shit, now I gotta paint the rest of the army, or I wasted my time painting the cataphracts. But I usually don't do it in that direction. I know last night it took a long time. It took maybe 20 minutes for somebody to show up. And then they did. And then 30 minutes after that, I had like 7 or 8 people on here. So maybe people just takes them a while to do this. Or maybe everybody's back to, nobody from Europe is here. And everybody's working. Nobody's working from home anymore. I tell you what, and I've said this before, if I was able to work from home one day, ever, in going on 29 years at the same place, I would kick so much ass on that day while I was home that they wouldn't want me to come back in the office. I wouldn't want to be like some of these folks that are like, people are wondering if they're watching Price is Right or working. You know those people that ruin it for everybody. I just like to be able to do it one time. And likewise, the people that are sitting around on their lily all day long working from home, I'd like for them to go to my job for one time. It was 105 degrees. Actually, it was 105 degrees yesterday and the day before when I got in the car. It was crazy. And I want nothing more to do than to come home and shower. Get me out of these dusty clothes. This may end up being a bust. Well, if we don't get the show going by 5, which is my normal wake-up time, then we know that this isn't the way to go forward. You know, because I could just be listening to my book on tape or something like that, or book on tape. Book on tape that's not on tape. Book on Audible. Having a listen. All right, let's go grab that dark red that's hanging out over here, wedged up here in the corner. There he is, the first visitor. Welcome, Harvey. I have started early today. Yeah, I have. I got on yesterday about 9 p.m., 9:15, which is way too late for me to be started. And I ran through about 10:30, and it took every bit of 20 minutes for folks to show up. And the wife is gone this week. She's on a girls' trip, which is not something that happens very often. And the first thing I thought of is, all right, I'm going to get all kinds of painting done. And I've been able to do less than normal. But not really a complaint. I just was expecting A and ended up getting Q. And, the daughter is here, so I've spent some time with her watching TV and stuff, which is something we rarely do anymore. And she's out and, being a cool 17-year-old. So, anyhow, so I've been doing that. So by the time I ended up getting my stuff I needed to do yesterday, it was already 9 o'clock and I hadn't even showered. So didn't start till 9:15. Took a while for people to come on. I'm like, I'm never going to get this army done unless I take some drastic measures. And I really don't want to work on them after Historicon. I want to be done with this army because I got to spend about 30 hours in a car with a guy named Mitch, and I'm sure we're going to be talking about what the next project's going to be. And I want to work on that. I don't want to work on these guys that I've been working on for 5 months or so. But I will not start the next project until these guys are complete. Until these guys are complete, I'm probably not going to go into the Komnenen units that I have to paint for them yet, because that'd be painting like another 6 stands, and I know that's not going to be able to get done. I'm going to be hard pressed to get the rest of these units done, which is a cavalry commander, 3 more stands of cavalry because I got 1 done, and a command post, and I've got less than a month to do it. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm not going to cut corners. It's going to take as long as it's going to take. The only way I can speed up is paint more often. Not take shortcuts that I'm going to be unhappy with by the time I'm done. I'll look at them and go, man, I wish I'd taken my time on that. I don't want that. I don't want no regrets. But I was just commenting, there aren't very many people. Usually this time period is flooded with people from the UK, but I think everybody got all their, I think everybody's back to not being able to work from home. Which is really sad if people want to do that, because that saves so much money. Not spending time in traffic, buying petroleum or whatever, spending time commuting. No, I get it. Some people may not have a home a room where they can go and be quiet. I do. We got this room and we got another room that's underused. So that's all I got. Just kind of plugging away at what we need to do. Looking forward to doing the shield on this unit. All these 3 units will have the same shield. Well, this unit won't. This figure won't have a shield because he's he doesn't have one. But the other 2 will. I figured we'll give this a whirl. Wife doesn't get back until Saturday afternoon, and then I have to turn around and we got to go somewhere else for the weekend. So I got some opportunity to paint this morning, and if it works out, we'll do this again tomorrow morning, this early on a work day. I normally wake up at 5. I don't have, by the time I have breakfast and everything, I just don't have enough time. It's worth connecting, and it'd be like if we're this far along and I have to say, well, that was good. Thanks for my one person that showed up, and now I have to cut it off, kind of thing. I don't really want to do that. Well, there's a couple people that I know that they don't get any painting done because they don't have a dedicated area where they can paint in or leave stuff set up. So just imagine every time you want to go and work on your hobby, you got to spend 30 minutes putting everything out and then 20 or 15 minutes picking it up again because you can't leave it set up. Yeah, I'd find another hobby. That wouldn't work for me. This takes long enough as it is. Long enough as it is. Let's get Scarlet out here. I can't remember if you're retired or you're on your lunch break, or hopefully you're retired. I can't wait till that day comes for me. If I'm not going to be one of those people that I'm going to have to go back to work because I'm bored. Nope. Not me. I got plenty to keep me busy. Let's get that out of there. This is the red that's just a little bit orange. I mix everything anyway, but it provides a nice starting point where I don't have to. I can just kind of get a base color. But that was the purpose of painting of this early, is to knock some of this stuff out, because I really don't want to come back from Historicon and still have to work on these guys. He retired. My health took a hit, and I decided to pack in work. Unfortunately, I was in a financial position. Fortunately, you were in a financial position to do that. Excellent, man. I hope you live a long and healthy life working on the stuff that you want to when you want to. I saw a lot of people at the last War Game show that I hadn't seen in a couple of years because, they didn't have them. And several of them have been retired. And I say several of them because most historical gamers are about 10 years older than I am. So that would be kind of at the cusp of retirement age. I think it's people about a decade older than me, they have to wait until they can start at 61 or something like that. I gotta wait until I think 67. That's just with the one from the federal government. So a lot of people had retired and I hadn't seen them in a long time. And when I was asking them how everything was going, they have all these medical problems. So, you wait your whole life to retire, and then the next thing you know, you have trouble walking. And I'm not saying that you need to be out running and stuff like that, but I'm like, I don't know, that was kind of motivating me to be like, you know what, I need to be in better shape. And I'm not necessarily, I would not consider myself someone who is in bad shape. But, we could all use a little bit less stuff on our stomach. And I'm like, if I can't do that when I'm 51, how the hell am I going to do it when I'm 61? So I've been, it's not a crusade or anything, but I've kind of tried to get some exercise more regularly because I don't want to die after I'm retired. Okay, that's when I'm searching for immortality. I've got everything that I want to do ahead of me when I'm retired, so I want to stay healthy and enjoy that as much as I can. Not asking for a lot, So, not going to be doing Iron Man things or anything like that, but definitely don't want to be one of those people that are like, hey, how's things going? Oh, it's great. I can retire and everything. Oh, man, that's awesome. Well, I can't have coffee. I can't have tea. I can't have alcohol. I can't have this. I can't have the other thing. And I'm like, dude, you're not that old. What the hell happened to you? The guy's eating dino nuggets his whole life or whatever. So we need to make better choices in that before it's too late. So I got no plans of to die after I'm retired. And like I said, if I get there, because, I don't have a pension at the place I'm working at, so even though I have been there almost 30 years, I can't walk away until I'm old enough to walk away. So but no, my health hasn't taken a hit, and I don't want it to. So, but hopefully you're doing better. Hopefully it was work that was bringing you down. All you had to do is get rid of work, and you're healthy again. Woohoo! I don't know. There's lots of people that I've heard of that are like, they can't find any motivation to do anything once they don't have to go to work, and I just don't see that that's going to be me. I just don't see that. Maybe people that are defined by what they do for a living, like maybe somebody who's a lawyer. Oh, I can't stop doing stuff with law. Well, that's because of what defines you. I'm not defined by what I do for a living. It just happens to be a job. My dad retired, but he was still working, but he was a civil engineer and he says he really enjoyed doing that, but he was kind of defined by what he did for a living. I'm certainly not. This is the shit that defines me. Wargaming, and it's not just gaming, it's learning about history and participating. Because if it was just like, hey, what are you into? History. Oh, what do you do with history? Oh, I just read it. Then what? I'm not... like to participate in it. And I'd like to say is I like to read it, talk to other people with like-minded individuals and talk about what they thought about stuff, but there's nobody to talk to about history. There's people on the street just aren't interested in it. So that's about it. The stress related to work that screws you up. Even driving to work through the rush hour traffic is stressful. Yep. You kick ass and it's just not good enough sometimes. So you either go crazy or you need to unclench a little bit. Yep. I used to get really pissed off. Really pissed off that there was people in the office that just seemed like they did just the absolute minimum to get by and they didn't get fired. And it was eating me up. And I just needed to just take a step back and just go, okay, well, I'm not going to, if that's not what's expected of them, I need to unclench a little bit and, not worry about it so much. Not say be sorry what you do, but I had a guy at work that he'd been there the whole time. So I think, had been there 35 years or something like that. And he's a young guy. He was like 55 or something like that. And he just died 2 weeks ago. Had a massive heart attack. Never got to retire from the place that he worked at. And I don't know that it was work-related. I think he had some stuff maybe that was going on. But all of a sudden just had a massive heart attack on a Sunday night. And that's it. And he hasn't been replaced yet, but I'm sure they will at some point. And the work's still going to go on. So the really stressful thing for me at work, it just seems like anytime I step away from it, whether it's lunch or something like that, it's like the crew in the Titanic. They'll find an iceberg and crash into something. There's like nobody at the helm when I'm not there, and I'm not running the place or anything. I don't have the personality type for that. That's somebody that does not have any hobbies. I can't be in a position where every single problem is my problem. I would just go nuts. So. Okay. The sword handle is going to be something like this. we need to pick some of this stuff up. We got too many things that are not useful hanging out here. Keep these around. I think I got my money's worth out of this napkin. Time to switch it out for another one. Yeah, the problem with driving is, with the heavy traffic is you got all that crazy driving, and if it takes you a long time, it doesn't take me long to come to and from work. I drive around most traffic. I live in the city, although, depends if you call this a city. But I live in the city and work in the country. So, I go against most traffic. But it still takes me, rounding up, a half hour there and a half hour back. So, if I had really heavy traffic, I'd spend more time in the car, and that's time you're doing stuff you don't get a chance to do. Luckily, I've got Audible, so I can at least listen to books and stuff like that. So that helps. But yeah, sitting in traffic, that doesn't sound like a good idea at all. Five o'clock. So this is the time I'd be waking up normally. I got some other stuff done instead. All right, we're going to use where's the color that we used for this guy? Should be out here. Unless I painted it a while ago. Yeah, it should be this cork brown. So we're going to take this same cork brown, and it's going to be darker, and then we're going to deviate from the original color. So, even on my days off, I like waking up, like if I'm going to go to work. It's a lot easier to not dread the Monday when you're just waking up at the time you normally wake up at. Or do like this, wake up an hour earlier than you normally would, but then go do stuff you want to do. Not just like, yep, I got up early for work, damn place, going to say, if I can get this guy done today, finished, I'll be pretty happy. And I can tell you right now that that's going to happen. Looks like collapse in the next 5 minutes. That's medium gray. Where's the stone brown? Stone gray, whatever the hell that is. The stoner color. Here it is. 44 minutes. Harvey and the Lurker, good morning to you. Whoever you may be. Whoever you may be. So I found something else I have to do. There's a little series of things there's a type of game that we've run in the past called the Greatest General. And basically what it is there's some special rules for some of these guys that are, Phil Barker has decided that they were brilliant. All the special rules are is we give everybody a little poker chip, and once per game you get to do a reroll of a die. Just something simple like that, but everybody's got to play one of the characters from the Brilliant General list, which is based on DBMM. And I, at the time, did not have the DBMM rules, but I had found somebody had pirated a copy and put them on there. Now, they weren't the current version of the rules, but they were on there. And in that iteration of them, which I think is the edition from 2007, Who's Who, the list of who's who is a brilliant general, and an inert general for that matter, is included in the rule book, not in the army lists as they are now. So I went with the list that Phil Barker used from 2007. It's his work, so, and you know, most of them are folks that you've heard of, and there's a few on there that you're scratching your head like, why is that guy on the list? Didn't that guy suck at everything he did? You know, also known as John Lackland. John Lackland is on the Brilliant Generals list. But nonetheless, I went with that list, and I happen to be surfing. Since then, I've gotten the DBMM rules and all the army lists for, you know, for research purposes and inspiration and so forth. And I was looking at one of the lists, and I noticed that one of the there's a general that is neither on the brilliant. There's an army that has a general that is on the brilliant list and the inert, and none of them are listed. So I'm going to have to go with a rule book. I'm not going to have to. I choose to. I don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything when you're volunteering for stuff. One of my pet peeves. You volunteer to do something, and then people that haven't done anything want to tell you how you should volunteer. Well, screw you. You do it yourself. You know, I'm gonna make some sandwiches. I'm gonna donate them. Okay, cool. Can you cut them like crossways instead of across? No, you cut them your damn self. I didn't volunteer to do that shit. One of my pet peeves. But I choose to. I'm going to go through that list and update it for the new information, DBMM, and maybe we can have some new figures on there. Dirk, good morning, or whatever the hell it is for you. Happy dinner time. Yeah, told you I'd be on. I got to get these guys done. I really wanted to get another unit of cavalry done this week, and well, this is the first of the 3. So, you know, one night Monday, I didn't go game. I stayed here and I mowed the lawn. I had to do that because I couldn't do it over the weekend because it decided to rain. Yesterday, we went to the gym and we're going to do some shopping, and then because of the new normal, now stores that were normally open until 9 closed at 8, and we're like, well, we're not going to make it, so we didn't do that. And then today, I got home, yesterday, last night, I got home from work, and we went to that shopping place that we needed to go with the daughter, and I've been watching some TV with her. So, I haven't been living a more productive lifestyle, but I'm spending time with the daughter because the wife's away until Saturday, and then we got to hop in a car. This is going to be another one of those weekends where, well, there won't be any Sunday painting, but there will be Saturday morning. That's my last chance to try to and then I've got one weekend after that, and then I think the following weekend after that is Historicon. So I don't have a whole lot of time left. Excuses. Yeah, well, it'll get done. I want to get them done because I don't want to work on these guys after Historicon. I want to work on whatever it is that I decided to talk myself into after spending 30 hours in the car with Mitch. Let me go get some coffee. I'll be right back. Yeah. When you volunteer for shit, you get to determine how you're going to volunteer. Not somebody who doesn't do a damn thing says, no, this is how you need to do it. Does Mitch keep his shoes on in the car? I hope so. In all fairness, I don't wear shoes inside my house. I don't have shoes on now. I don't have bad feet. But, I make fun of him because we basically play like in a shed. And it's basically a huge shed in the back of his house. So he's got to cross, grass and stuff to get there. So, yeah, I wouldn't be barefoot in the back of his. I mean, if that was my place, I wouldn't be barefoot back there. But I don't wear shoes in the house. I mean, it helps keep down on the track and dirt in and stuff like that. And I'm not Asian or anything where we keep the shoes outside the house where, cockroaches and stuff could crawl into that. We have neighbors that do stuff like that. You'll walk by their home and they've got 20 pairs of shoes outside their home. Like, if somebody walked up to if the UPS guy came up and said, I like me a pair of those and can take it with them. I think that's extreme, but I don't wear shoes. I try not to wear shoes in the house. It's pretty easy for me to remember for a couple reasons. The first one is I work at a construction type site. So my shoes are always extremely dusty. I do not want to bring them in the house. So I go in through the garage and they're stacked in there. And but yeah, he makes it a point to never wear shoes when he's at home. Even if he's walking out in the grass and stuff like that. And yeah, but that's his thing, not wearing shoes. I think he keeps them on in the car. Hey, at least he's not one of those people that you get to a gas station and he's barefoot in the car and he walks all around the gas station without any shoes on, pumping gas and everything. Like, that's wrong on so many levels. Goes into the gas station and uses the bathroom and has no shoes on. Like, whoa. Oh. He could lose some hit points just thinking about that one. Yeah, there's people like that. Yeah, it's that whole barefoot thing, that's his. But I'm pretty much only barefoot, what? At home, on the pool deck, at the beach? That's it. Other than that, I'm always wearing shoes. I like to not wear shoes from the standpoint of, your feet are cool, because my feet heat up very easily. But I feel like if you wear this doesn't make any sense, but if I wear flip-flops for like more than one day, my heels just get destroyed. Like, it just squeezes all the moisture out of them. So, and I'm in enclosed footwear all day long at work, and it's hot. So, yeah, but that's his thing, That's his thing. It's taken off, got a mind of its own now. You see people like that on planes as well. No, I don't have a problem with feet as far as, like, I know of one I haven't confronted this person, but there's no reason to, but I heard through the grapevine that this one lady hates her feet, and she doesn't have, like, feet that I would say they're so ugly they need to be hated. But there's some people that they hate feet. I'm not one of those people. I just don't want to get other people's foot funk on me. I mean, there's people are nasty, and yeah, I don't want somebody else's germs. I made the mistake one time, and I'll never do this again. And it was the only time I ever did this. I was at a water park, and all day at a water park, and I decided I needed to pee. And like everybody else at the water park, I decided not to pee in the pool or on the water slide. I went in the bathroom, but I went in the bathroom right after a ride, and I didn't have shoes on. And I figured, it's not a big deal because everybody's in there without shoes, and it just all gets washed off. And I ended up getting an infection in my heel. It was nothing severe, but it was just really weird to have something wrong with your feet. The English tradition is to wear slippers in the house, stops your feet getting cold in our climate. I love it when my feet are cold, and it just never happens. Slippers, yeah, I don't own a pair. But yeah, I'm not taking my shoes off on an airport, man, in a plane. And my feet don't smell. I mean, they make stuff that you can spray on your feet that keeps your feet from smelling. Use that, folks. And slippers, no, I don't ever wear slippers. My climate's never cold, unfortunately. I would probably like the climate where you live, Harvey, a lot, except that it's probably dreary too many days. And that just gets to me. But I love wet and cold. It's good for me. I do like it. But we don't have that here. If it's cold here, it's wettish because we always have that humidity, but I can't handle those dreary days. Or what I like to call is the day that's the same time of day all day long. Like at 8 in the morning looks the same as 3 in the afternoon. It's dreary, and it's those days you don't want to do anything other than have ice cream. you know, to cheer you up. Travel with a nice blue cheese, folk. Travel with a nice blue cheese. Folks will never notice your feet. Why is it that everybody likes blue? Is you can find, at least here in the States, they try to put blue cheese on everything. And I would consider myself somebody who loves cheese, but I don't like blue cheese. I could eat it if I have to, but why do I have to? I don't like blue cheese, yeah. But they like to put everything like a hamburger with blue cheese. Like, why you got to ruin a hamburger? Not that I have them very often, but... Okay, this fellow is done. And he doesn't look that much different from the rest of them. But that's because he doesn't have a shield. This is the archer bow dude, the bow archer man. And which one of these two guys we're going to do next? We're going to do the Elaine Tulare guy on a gladiator horse. Or we're going to do this, do the cataphract last. Not the cataphract, but the half-armored dude last. All right. This last guy that wasn't the cataphract, we did a medium brown one. I'm going to do a light colored guy with the cataphract. So, well, we got to paint some things in black to... Stilton. I'm sure I've had Stilton, but I can't think of it, what it is. I'm a big... I don't need things too complicated. I pretty much like all of them. As long as it has flavor. I know you guys probably don't eat it because you guys are in the UK and it's like, have an American cheese. Like, I never have American cheese. Like, who the hell wants to have that? But cheddar, I'm a big fan of cheddar. It's sharp, extra sharp, not sharp. I love cheddar. Like, if you have to pick, you only have to eat one cheddar, the one cheese the rest of your life. It's cheddar. Stilton. Yeah, I don't know which one that is. I'm sure I've had it. And I'm not a very meat and potatoes kind of guy, so I don't mind, you know, something that's a little bit more artsy. But I'm not a fan of brie. My daughter loves it. I think it's kind of weird, you know. So here's a question for you people from across the pond, or you person across the pond. Why is it that it's referred to as the British Isles? Okay, the British Isles includes Ireland, but yet the people on Ireland aren't British. Doesn't make any sense to me. And I'll be honest with you, I have a bad habit of saying, "Oh yeah, the people from Britain," and I just mean in the England part, you know. So I know the difference. It's just I misspeak all the time because I don't usually, you know, I don't have to be judged on that stuff. So I do know the difference. But why is it called the damn British Isles if they include Hibernia, right? Isn't that what the name of it is? Hibernia, as opposed to Caledonia. Traditional foods of the English Midlands are Stilton and Melton Mowbray pork pies. Okay. It's like a, what's the thing called? Like one of those pot pies or something like that. I don't know. You guys eat stuff that I wouldn't touch with a 20-foot pole, and it's basically body, filters and stuff like that. I won't touch any of those blood things or any of that. Black pudding, and I'd rather just eat vegetables. I've tried it before, so it's not like, you never tried it before. Oh yeah, I did. I'd rather eat vegetables. I like all my vegetables, and they don't gross me out. I was always known as a kid as, my mom did a really good, she was basically or my stepmom, she was basically a drill sergeant when it came to eating things. And at the time I hated it, but I think it came in really handy now because I can eat things that other people, I'm not a picky eater. But meat things, if you think about it too much, I wouldn't be eating any of them. But I know that there was a piece of steak that my wife brought back from a restaurant. So she'd gone on a trip. She's like, and I have no problem eating leftovers. And I'm like, this tastes weird. And it was a cut that was too close to the liver. And, so it has that irony taste. I can't eat it. I can't eat. If I had somebody hold a gun to my head, try some traditional London jellied eels. That doesn't sound appealing. That doesn't sound appealing. If I'm gonna be eating eels, they need to be by some, it needs to be at some samurai place. I'm sure I've had eel on sushi, and I don't think I'm a huge fan of it. But they eat weird stuff in every part of the world. The place where my ancestors come from, they eat weird shit too. They eat brains and stuff. I'm not eating no freaking brains. What'd I do wrong? Okay, in my opinion, the expression British Isles is a 19th century expression related to the empire. Okay. So the Falklands could be the British Isles. 19th century? Shit, Dirk's from the British Isles. Oh. You said 19th century British, and the first thing I thought of was that thing that I looked up the other day. I forget what triggered me to look it up. Oh, I think I had seen Apocalypto. I wanted to go see Apocalypto, and I'm like, I look up on the internet, and it's just for yucks. It's not to get my opinion. I certainly have my own opinions. They don't need to be influenced by people that tell me how I should think on the internet. But we're going to go dark brown with this one. And I'm like, what's some of the worst empires in history? What's some of the worst empires in history? I know what they are. Assyrians, the Aztecs, those two are way up there at the top in my book. My people weren't nice, but they're below the Aztecs for sure, because anybody who's basically like, if they're your neighbor, they're going to kill all of you and you can't negotiate with them is like bad. People you can't pay off to not come in and kill every single one of you. Anybody like that is top tier. So I started looking at this, and I got the stuff that I'm usually expecting to see. Assyrians, Aztecs, Mongols. Even the Mongols are better than the Aztecs, because the Mongols asked you you need to give up, and if you didn't give up, then it was, and they fought you and you lost. It was curtains for you. But at least you had a chance. At least they came in asking, maybe not politely, but said, you must give up. And, but I started getting all the typical responses that I see. You know, and the British Empire was one of them. And I'm like, what? What the fuck? I'm like, what the fuck? I just, I just was sitting beside myself. I couldn't believe it. You're a New Zealand citizen and a British subject, as we have the same monarch. That just doesn't sound good, being a subject. I think you should take up arms. Screw that guy. I wouldn't listen to that old blue-haired woman. I don't know, does she have blue hair? I don't think much of the Queen, but I'll tell you this. She has a great speaking voice. And I can understand every single thing she says. And she should. She's the one setting the example. It is the Queen's English. I'm not her subject. I'm not anybody's subject. Unsavory things, you know? And hopefully your nation did unsavory things when everybody else was doing unsavory things, you know? To do the kind of stuff that colonial nations were doing in the 1700s now is probably a bad idea. But to do them in the 1700s, that's just what everybody was doing, you know? But yeah, the British Empire, one of the top 10 most, I'm like, I don't agree. I don't agree. I think that if you go and a colonial power isn't necessarily evil. I mean, sure, they exploit people, but they're in better shape than, in a lot of cases, than they were before they showed up. And some people benefited. So, is it okay by today's standards? No, but I wouldn't label them the top 10 worst. I mean, that's ridiculous. So, like the Romans. The Romans did a lot of bad stuff, but the Romans did a lot of good stuff. The Romans were a lot better than a lot of other people that were their neighbors. And I'm not just talking about the Carthaginians, but yes, the Carthaginians. But, all the barbarian nations, you could at least, there was corruption and stuff like that, but, it gave some people some opportunities. It wasn't like everybody was just living a life in paradise, and then the Romans showed up and ruined it. It was hell both ways, But yeah, I'm not. I don't agree with the whole evil English thing. So, and I'm not trying to kiss anybody's ass. I just tell it like it is. As I sees it. The ways I sees it. So I don't agree with they had slavery. Well, everybody had slavery. Some places still have it now, but they don't want to talk about that. I would say that my ancestors were worse than the English. Without saying my guys could even be, I could say they could be top 10. Towards the bottom of the top 10, maybe. But the English was a much, I'd say, more fair than the Spanish. They made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. You know, we wouldn't treat people the way any of those societies would treat people now. You know, you'd be in prison. Yeah, I couldn't believe that. And it's probably people that wrote that or people that live in the UK. Like, okay, well, just go somewhere else then. You know, if the place you live at is so evil, go somewhere else. And you know, I don't have a beef. I don't have a beef with the English because you know my people weren't here in 1776. My only beef with the people across the pond is that whole driving on the wrong side of the road. I'm never gonna get over that. I'm taking that shit to the grave. That is just like the most. It just never makes sense to me. I know that they always come up with reasons, but you know what I always like to say is even the bloody French figured it out. Other than that, I have no problem with you chaps. You silly people from the land of toys. Even the bloody French figured it out. Even the bloody French fell in line. Oh, man. You island French are funny. I missed the point. There's a recognition of the empire's failings that is generally missing. We can't change history, but you should acknowledge it. Yeah, and everybody was doing the same shit at that time, you know? You know, it's not stuff we would do now. Are there any people that refuse to play the English in a game because of that? Are there people that are in the UK that are so apologist that they don't want to play those people? I'll play anybody in a game. I'll play SS. I mean, I don't think I ever have because they don't come up. You know, I'm not going to dress up like one. But I'll play anybody in a freaking game. Commissars, you know, communists. I don't care. It's just a game. And I'm going to try to win with them. It's just, you know, it's the game. But I could see where some people wouldn't want to play Nazis, you know, because of multiple reasons. I could see that, but I'll play anybody. I don't care. It's just a game. I'm not going to go wear one of those Nazi unit shirts walking around. That sends the wrong message. Those bloody French started the trend of driving on the wrong side back when storming the Bastille. You mean the mainland French, as opposed to the island French. I love it. I don't have anything against the French or the English. Unless they're fighting my people, then it's on. Well, I don't know the history of it, but I'll tell you this. If the French did start the trend of driving on the side that most of the world drives on, they won that war. They finally won a war. Finally! The bloody French. I love playing the French because you can do an outrageous accent. It's part of the experience. I don't care if it's accurate. We're having fun here. And I don't get much of an opportunity to play them because I don't do Napoleonics for starters. There's not a period that I'm particularly interested in. As a matter of fact, I have played it on a few occasions. I've only played the French once. So, tend to gravitate more towards underdogs. Bloody French. It's supposed to be part of the new regime after the revolution, new weights and measures, driving on the opposite side of the road. Oh. Was the revolution that bad? I don't know. The leaders of the revolution freaking got. I think that's hilarious that old Robespierre got executed by his own people. Let them eat cake. I've never seen anybody do revolutionary type stuff because right off the bat in the 1790s or early 1790s, Britain and Prussia went to war against France. I've never seen anybody do that, but I've never seen anybody do War of 1812 either. So. Why war game Revolutionary War when you can paint La Garde? I don't know, just something different, you know? That's like, why paint 1813 Prussians when you can do Franco-Prussian War or, World War I Germans? Who wants to paint a third of their army as Landwehr? They aren't very sharply dressed. I actually know somebody who's painting the early Prussian, 1806 or whatever. The Jena Prussians. The brown pants. Not a good look. Not a good look. Practical, but not a good look. Practical, but not a good look. I just never got into that period because the people that played it when I was a kid, they weren't any fun. They didn't have fun playing games like we do. I've always had fun playing games like you guys watch on videos. Always. You play the game seriously, but when funny shit happens, you crack up and you make off-color jokes, and that's always the way I've gamed, and we have a hell of a great time. Play War of 1812 boarding as a favorite. Oh, you mean the skirmish over in the waves? Yeah, I don't care about American history, so you're not offending me. There's no wars worth looking at or playing over here. I hate American Civil War. You like it more than I do. And I don't know if you like it at all. I'm just not interested in that at all. I don't know what the appeal for the American Civil War is, honestly. It's a period that, well, first of all, everybody's on the same side. So you only have two factions, to use a common term. So that alone is like, okay, that's boring as shit. And the second thing is I'm not related to either one of the two factions. My people hadn't showed up here yet, or we came 550 years ago, realized there was no gold and air conditioning. We're like, fuck this, we're leaving when technology catches up. So I don't have any ancestors that I know of that were in the New World until the turn of the 20th century. So I don't have that tie-in of families or something that a lot of people claim to have. Like, well, both of my ancestors fought on the other side of the Civil War. I don't have. That's not in me. And the uniforms of the period just pretty much suck as far as I'm concerned, including all the hairstyles and mustaches and all. I just don't really care for any of it. So you had Revolutionary French in Egypt years ago. Wish I hadn't sold them. Yeah. Well, you know what? You probably wouldn't be happy with how they look like, how you'd painted them. So just look at it that way. Like, I had a bunch of 2400 scale ships. I had hundreds of them, and I sold them, and I wasn't happy with how they looked, and they weren't getting used. So what's that? ACW flags are born. Absolutely. Who wants to? I'm already American. That's no fun. Unless you're playing Confederates, okay? You can't do any fun accents, And you could have fun as shit with Confederate accents. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just not interested. It just, I don't see what the appeal is. I would do AWI before I would do American Civil War. I would probably do Mexican-American War before I did American Civil War. Because you could have fun with the Mexican troops. I could have a lot of fun, with that. But it seems very one-sided and very short of a conflict. So I don't get ACW. Same reason I wouldn't get into ECW. Just doesn't interest me. So but that's why they make all kinds of periods and all kinds of figures. Something for everybody. You're not happy with figures I painted 5 years ago. That sucks, man. I'm not, arguing with you. I get it. Fortunately, I don't think that my painting style has changed that dramatically in the last 20 years. So I mean, the basing has, but I don't feel like even my World War II guys, even my Brits that are right here that are handy, I still like how these guys turned out a lot. The basing sucks. I mean, the basing needs to be redone, but these are probably about 6 to 7 hours each. So, and those guys were done 25 years ago. So, fortunately, that that isn't one of those things. All right, I need to take a short break, and I will be right back. Okay, I had to feed my addiction. Everybody's addicted to something. I'm not addicted to it. I'm just doing a lot of talking, so. I got all day long to drink water at work, so I'm gonna get coked up. Coke zeroed up. the house full of alcohol and I never paint. I never drink. No reason to. Right. About that. Leather brown, which is probably really similar to the color I just did. But that's okay. Most horses are going to be that type of Midland brown anyways. Yeah, fortunately I don't have that problem with I'm not happy with what I did 5 years ago, because it is really frustrating, you know. That's interesting. Why do I have a second alarm? That makes no sense, because it's ringing at a time that that's strange. Well, hell with it. I'm going to take my medicine then, which I probably forgot to take last night. So I don't turn into a zombie. Tony doing drugs on camera again. Aw, shit, really? Ain't nobody got time for that. Well, the advantage of drinking stuff that doesn't have any real sugar in it, doesn't get sticky. That last little splurge got in there. All right. I don't know. I would call this successful. We're going to try it again tomorrow morning. Waking up at 4. I have something happening tonight that will probably prevent me from painting tonight. So, more than likely will prevent me from painting tonight. So we'll have to make up for it tomorrow morning. And I don't know what I was thinking using a brush this big. But anyways, getting back to conflicts, most of the conflicts I'm just not interested in painting them. You know, a lot of people say that they do Napoleonics because they like the uniforms, and I would say to them, the uniforms are all the same. They're just different colors. And I know that's not true, but generally, yes. You know, to the untrained eye, okay? I've played Napoleonics games, and they're fine to play. I just don't see I'm not very motivated to paint any of them ever. It also helps that Mitch has a ton of them, and Joel has painted a ton of them recently. And, my big motivator to paint things is to learn more about them, and I don't have a huge desire to learn about Napoleonic things, so I don't have a huge desire to paint them. yes, we got all the stuff to do on the sleeves too. And I could see doing Victorian type stuff. I think that would be interesting, but there's just not enough figures to. I wouldn't want it to be just, the English versus the world. I think that's not very. It doesn't interest me a whole lot. I think it'd be good with, the English plus natives plus other European nations, kind of like a World War One that takes place in the 1880s or the 1890s. With shifting alliances. I think having the option that the British and the French could fight each other is an appeal. It just adds another angle that you can kind of go with. But it probably would have to be something skirmishy because you can't have all these formed troops and then natives would just get devastated. It'd be like almost like, well, they'd be more useless than hordes. Okay, Harvey, have a good day. Enjoy the rest of your retired day. Hopefully you can do whatever the hell you want to do. You've earned it. Tell your wife I said so. But that is something I've considered is doing, 1880s, 1890s. Certainly if I got back into naval war gaming, that's the period I'd want to do. And I've played a couple games of Sword in the Flame and stuff like that. I think it's a good period. I think it's a little boring when it's just like it's only the English versus the natives. It's just a little too like one-sided. World War One skirmish in Africa is fun. I bet it is. I bet it is. The only problem that I would have with that period, of course, I'd have the same period with what I just mentioned that would be cool, is everybody, there's just not a whole lot of support weapon stuff. Like for instance, you'd have like an officer that has a pistol, and then everybody else has a bolt-action rifle. And that's where World War II really shines, is that you could have most of the people that have bolt-action rifles, but you still got non-coms and specialist troops that can have different type of weapons. But yeah, a World War One type theme like that running around in Africa would be a lot of fun. You get to paint a lot of native troops, a lot of black troops, which I happen to like painting. Dark-skinned troops, it's just a different look. It's something else to look at, and they're a lot of fun to paint. And I don't make them all uniform. There's different shades and stuff. I really enjoy it. It's been a while since I painted some black troops, but I look forward when I have to do that again. I got the Zandrevolt army that I would like to do. I got all the figures that I would want to use pulled out for them, and not everybody in that army is black, but they have a I would paint them predominantly so. But, like I said, I'm interested in a whole lot of things, unfortunately. So, I got to keep myself on a short leash. Because I find just about everything interesting, except American history. Although, to be honest with you, last year, I think it was last year, we went to a place called Brunswick, Georgia for a long weekend. And it was a place that the stinking British, You can say the bloody French. I can say the stinking British. The stinking British decided to put an outpost there, right on the outskirts of our colonies, the Spanish colonies, and wanted to be a nuisance. And no, I'm just kidding. Hey, after the Spanish got a French king, I'm out. I don't lay claim to them. But anyways, they skirmished there, and there was a battle that took place at a place called the Battle of Bloody Marsh, and it was just a skirmish. It was like 50 versus 300 or something like that, where the British laid an ambush and basically massacred like all kinds of troops there. And I think that was the last time that the Spanish messed with them or something like that. Anyways, so I go to this battle site, and there's all these like uniform like plates there on the. You can go on the internet, look at the Battle of Bloody Marsh, and you can see that there's actually quite a bit of stuff on it. But it's a tiny little engagement, and what they like to call here the War of Jenkins' Ear, which is nothing more than the War of Austrian Succession. And so, I go from that and I'm like, okay, well, this isn't really my period, but what is this Cuban Grenadiers? Like weird, just weird stuff. Like the Spanish had like black troops and some Cuban Grenadiers, and the Brits had Scots troops. They had a unit of Scots that did really well there. And so, of course, the war gamer in me is like, all right, who makes figures for this stuff? I mean, not that I'm going to get any of them, but, I just, started to look into that and realized that basically nobody makes figures for the period. You could use 7 Years' War stuff. You'd have to kludge stuff together. And I think at that point we had already played Maurice, which is a really kind of a unique set of rules, I think. And I figured, okay, well. And I do that all the time. Like I'll hear something and I'm like, okay, well, who makes figures for them? Not that I'm tempted to buy them, but it's still like I kind of go that route because that is one of the things I enjoy the most about wargaming is figuring out what I would buy and what I would paint for who. I really enjoy that. I am the anti Essex Army Pack. I want to do it all on my own and figure it out. And yeah, so it was a little skirmish I didn't know anything about, which doesn't surprise me. I don't know anything about it. It's not my period, and I don't like American history. Although that's probably more European than anything else, because it involved European powers. But Battle of Bloody Marsh, and it was right outside of a place that Oglethorpe fortified called Fort Frederica. Man, that guy's loud. It's too early, man. People are sleeping. But yeah, I looked into it, It's still history. But that was like, what, 1730 or something like that? What were people wearing at that time? Were they still wearing those? Is that still considered lace wars? Probably. People still wearing those long, all dressed up like Captain Hook. It's funny how fashions change from time to time. Like that whole American Civil War, I think the fashion's horrible during that time period. Like facial hair and stuff like that. But then, what, Napoleonics, they had, mustaches and big sideburns that were too long. Too bushy. It's funny how stuff like that changes. You got War of the Roses where everybody's basically clean shaven, has short hair, and they start growing their hair long and having beards. And the next thing you know, you got even longer hair and mustaches, and I don't know. It's interesting how all the fashion trends on all the armies kind of change. And then after that, it's like, well, let's just cut our hair short, but we'll wear wigs. And then like, oh, that's not good enough. Let's make the wigs like white. We'll powder the wigs. Yeah, yeah. And then after that, you're like, F that. Let's have mustaches and bushy sideburns. Time to go work in the morning. Oh, man. That's no good. That's no good. Yeah, I've got to pretty much go myself, so I'm probably going to sign off as well. Because it's 6:12 a.m. So I need to start getting ready. But I guess this was successful. I finished painting one figure and started on the next one. So maybe we'll do this 4 a.m. thing, at least until the wife gets back. And otherwise she'll be like, you're getting up too early. You want to fall asleep at 9. You know, so anyhow, her voice isn't like that, but that's my female impersonation. See, I don't do a very good job, so I'll just stick to not doing that. Okay, folks, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you shortly. Happy painting, and on to the next time.